Hi, welcome to this channel. This is our brand new Wednesdays on AI, a brand new podcast. And today and every Wednesday, we'll meet you at this time and tell you what happened and what's bothering us and what's making it interesting on AI for the week. This is Migs, and I'm joined with Vix. And both of us, we spend most of our day thinking about AI. And why do we do that? We do that because AI is taking over the world. What do you think, Vix?
No, I completely agree, Maglani. One of the theories that we end up using all the time is that most of the value is created by the pioneers. So, since AI is something new, it's like new land being discovered, and people who travel to the new land will be the ones who will capture most of the value. So, to everyone out there, I'll recommend that to use that idea. Like last week, Miglani was talking about Bitcoin, right? So 10 years ago, people Bitcoin purchased Bitcoin at $100 a Bitcoin, or somebody even bought Bitcoin at $1 a Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin was discovered, those were the people who did it first, and today it's almost worth $100,000. So AI is going through a similar phase. So people who discover it now, work on it now, will tend to do much better than people who come later.
And Vix, my favorite line, which I read somewhere but now it's stuck in my mind, is that AI will not take your jobs. It's someone
Yes,
using AI will. So
yes,
on
I
that
think
note,
you're so right.
since since our episode is going to be 30 minutes every week, we will focus upon what happened in the last 1 week. But given this is the first time we are doing this, Vix, would it be worth just spending 2 minutes on what has happened so far? Because
Sure, I
people,
think that's very right.
a lot of people like me, we've been in AI and I've been tracking. I've had, for better or worse, I've had a front row seat to this technological renaissance. That's the best I can describe it. And the reason being, I've been a venture capital investor and I've been looking at AI at least as far back as I remember, since 2015, at least, very seriously. In fact, we made a couple of investments pre-pandemic, bear in mind, before this current LLM thing came up. But what I can say, I mean, this generative AI has only happened seriously since 2021. And that has been
Yes,
nothing short of extraordinary, because previously, if I were to describe it, it was machine learning and then became machine learning plus. And this, from my recollection, this started in early 21. That's what I remember. This was like in around the time people in India were unfortunately going through the second wave of the pandemic. And that was the time OpenAI launched DALI. And DALI completely changed the understanding of what can neural networks do. Because DALI was using that neural networks can generate from text, it can generate photos. I mean, that was almost unheard of. It was like, it was very much science fiction kind of human creativity being beaten or matched by computer creativity.
yeah,
But then 2022, and this is 3 years ago, and I remember it because that's the time when I ventured on my own with my own fund and investments, private investments. So I remember that was a watershed year, because I was noticing not just DALI 2 that was released at that time. I mean, that DALI 2 was like an exponential leap. But then later in 2022, everyone around me, even people who weren't tracking AI, they were talking about ChatGPT, because ChatGPT got launched late in 2022, 2.5 years ago. ChatGPT got launched, and then Gen AI reached the mainstream, and see, people have been working with large language models for a number of years. But ChatGPT brought it to the masses, and I'm still stunned by both its capabilities and the unprecedented adoption rate. I mean, do you know
yes,
ChatGPT got like a what 100 million users in like in just a couple of
yes,
months. That's what I
yes,
remember. And then there were other people using it, other companies that came. We had Mid Journey, we had Stable Diffusion. They were all doing image generation. And that's when, I mean, we went on to last year. Last year, sorry, I'm still thinking 2023 is last year. It's been more than a year. But 2023, this transformed into when GPT-4 was launched. when GPT-3 was launched, this is my recollection, it was a watershed thing. But when GPT-4 came, GPT-3 looked like it was the abacus in front of a supercomputer, and
Yeah.
it had multimodal capabilities. It had a great new architecture, and around that time, I think other companies also started coming. Was it around then, around GPT-4, when Anthropic launched the Claude
Yes, it's around,
LLM?
yeah, in 2023, around that time when Anthropic launched, yes.
Yes, yes, and this was also the time. I mean, everyone else, Google was starting to think about or getting Gemini, or maybe it was called by a different name. I'm forgetting that. Meta launched Llama, so 2023 is when everyone else got, okay, we are also going to do LLMs, and it was only a few companies because, let's be honest, LLMs was. I mean, it took billions and billions of dollars and pounds to launch an LLM, and
Yes,
that went on 2024. I remember like everyone and their grandmoms was into developing an AI model or something using the LLM to to make a new thing, and that was like it was running out of control. And out of control, I'm saying very positively running out of control, because everyone was picking up, okay, I can use this and create something of my own out there. And if I remember, so this was, I think, 3 months ago, or 2 or 3 months ago. It seems like a long time ago when DeepSeek came and showed that you can create a new LLM for a way smaller number, way smaller amount than previously we thought. And I
yes.
think that once again got us into a next generation. And then, why am I saying this to any viewers out here? Why am I saying this? Is because we are going to be discussing what happened last week in AI. And this was my attempt in summarizing what has happened in the last 3 or 4 years in AI. And what
Yes.
does an LLM achieve? It The main thing, Vix, what is your definition of an LLM if you were to summarize it for a new user? I
Sure.
mean,
So, Miglani,
obviously, the
first of
full form is
all,
a large language model.
yeah, so Milani, to begin with, I think you gave a very good historical arc of AI, and I remember you talking to me back in 2015 about AI and making investments in machine learning, and from then to in 2023 talking about making investments in LLMs and so on. So you've had the front row seat, and you gave a very good background. For me, somebody who started writing code on LLMs in 2023, I've been doing it for 2 years now. The way I look at it is that uh, prior to LLMs, most of the human effort could be magnified. For example, for a screwdriver, I don't use a manual screwdriver anymore. I use electric screwdriver, and I can get so much more done. And to go somewhere, I don't just walk. I can bike. I can take a car. I can go there 100 times, 1,000 times faster. So LLMs was the first time when we tried to model the biological brain into the computer, and we were successful in modeling the biological brain into the computer. And so now, just the way when I go from California to New York, I can take a flight and go 10,000 times faster instead of walking. Similarly, by using this brain which inside the computer, I can do 10,000 times faster processing that than what I can do with my brain. And that's the way I look at it. Just the way we progress from walking to horses to cars to super fast cars to planes, we've now progressed from just using this biological brain to now using the computer brain. So, and that, and you said it very correctly. It would not, AI will not take your job, but a person with the AI will take your job. And there's just something very interesting about that. Why do we, is that just a statement, or is there some scientific validity to that? Like, why will AI not be able to do your job, but why will someone with AI will be able to do your job much better than you? Because see, as humans, we are aware of so many things in the background that is hard for AI to know. Like, for example, if AI wanted to do this podcast, and I know that on the roster today we'll be talking about an AI that can do podcast. And if this AI was to do the podcast, it will know a lot, but still our human brains can uh, can can pick up things that AI cannot pick up, uh, like things in the context. So things around us, contextually aware. So I think
So Vix, we've got our first chat question of the day, and I think
yes,
this is a very good question. Thank you, Saikat. Uh, so this brings to the point: what is different this time? What is different in generative AI in large language models versus AI being around for the last 20 or 25 years and gradually progressing? And
sure,
the answer is in the name: a large language model. So till about 5 odd years ago, before LLMs became large, uh, AI was done using machine learning and using things where humans are feeding inputs into it. Then it is processing a lot of data using the data that has already gone, the data sets that it's read. But a large language model also does that, but it builds on that foundation by saying that now today I can ask, you can ask, anyone can ask it in English. So it is a combination. This is I'm making a very simplistic definition out here. It's taking all the machine learning that has existed and being developed on, and it's taking it's reading language as we speak as humans, transforming that into its own code, generating, doing all the machine learning behind it, and generating an answer in the language that I understand. And this is the difference between a computer playing chess versus a computer teaching someone how to play chess. And to me, it's
sure.
just that little thing. But Vix, it also, what do you think? I mean, the last 3 or 4 months, I've been hearing a lot about agentic AI, and to me, that is the most beautiful thing. Well, I've been hearing it for the last 2 years, but it has really caught on in the last 6 months, hasn't it?
Yes, yes. The term agentic AI is on the forefront of everyone's vocabulary in the last 6 months. You're correct.
So what do you think it is, and what's
Sure,
the difference between non-agentic AI or as AI used to be 6 months ago versus how agentic
sure.
is?
Perfect, perfect. And I think it's so important to take it back to the core, to take it back to the root, or जैसे हमारे पेरेंट्स कहते थे कि सार क्या है, summary क्या है. So the agentic AI, what is the summary of it, or what is the sar of it? देखो, if I ask, if I what does the word agency mean? The word agency means giving control to someone else, right? Like if I have an employee and I give that employee agency, he can make decisions on my behalf, right? If I tell him, go and open a bank account, right? If I if he has to come back to me with all the information, okay, acha, these are the 5 banks where you can open a bank account. This is the chart I've made. Tell me which bank. So he doesn't have agency. He's just a data collector, right? But if I give him agency that he can now go ahead and actually open the bank account, he doesn't have to come back to me and ask me again. So that's agentic AI. So for example, if I tell the AI, book a flight ticket for a friend of mine coming from London to California, and and that's it. And the AI goes, opens up windows, finds the flight prices and all that, and then books a flight ticket. So that's agentic. The AI has
So that
agency.
so basically, when AI acts like your agent rather
Yes,
than just answers your question. So if you
yes.
think about,
So
when I think about my kids, I ask them a question: "What did you do today?" They will answer just that: "What did you do today?" But agentic AI is when I tell them, "Okay, can you go to the shop and get 1 kilo rice?" So for
yes,
that, they need a number of things to do. They just don't need to
yes,
answer that question to me. They need to do a
yes,
number of things. They need to first physically go out, open the door,
yes,
then either get in a car or get in a bus. That might take, in AI terms, that might take a different application. It might take a different LLM to actually
yes,
do the second task.
yes,
And but the second task cannot be done. This is important. The second task cannot be done. You cannot get into a bus until you open the door. It's only when you
yes,
open the door. Step two is you walk down to the bus stop. Step
yes,
three is you wait for the bus, get in the bus. Step four is you reach the grocery shop. Step 5 is
Yes.
you give them the money. Step 6
Yes.
is then do it all in reverse. Now, the thing with
Yes.
agentic is this output is what the agent does. But how
Yes.
it does is step 1 can be done through OpenAI directly. Step 2
Yes.
might need Meta's Llama. Step 3
Yes.
might need an application which is running on something else where they are taking the cash. What does in AI terms,
Yes.
what does it mean? Taking out the cash means maybe have some open banking app which is integrated through the API.
Yes. See,
So I love this
I
thing.
have a
Biggest
slightly different
beauty
opinion
in
on that.
agentic AI. Hmm.
I have a
Yeah.
slightly different opinion because in your example, if I ask the AI, what is the weather like in San Francisco today? And the AI has to open a browser, AI has to go search for the weather in San Francisco. That's the second step. And then come back and tell me what is the weather in San Francisco. Then will you call this agentic AI? In my definition, I will not call it agentic AI because I have not allowed the AI to make its own decisions on my behalf. It's still doing multiple
Yes.
steps, but I personally will only call something agentic AI if I've delegated my decision making to that AI. So, for example,
Yes. Yes.
so if I've not delegated any decision making and if the AI has to take 5 steps to do something, that's still not agentic. It's like I'm not the principal and it's not the agent. It's not my agent. For example, when we hire
And
an
I think
attorney,
you hit the nail on the head. You're absolutely right. So the agent has to achieve an action, an output, rather than just answer a question what the weather is. And then there is
yes,
one more thing. The output, the output will have to change. The output will have to change if the conditions change. So for instance, someone
yes,
going, I'm just extending this analogy. If it starts raining, then you're walking down to the bus stop, it starts raining, then the agent or will have to come back home,
yes,
get an umbrella and make its own decision.
yes,
And for that, does it, how does it do it? Maybe the, if the AI application does not have that capability, it will lean into a different AI application and bring that and pull it.
yes,
So I'm trying to keep it very simple. Obviously, the way agentic AI works is a bit more complicated. But my
yes,
definition, it has to analyze data, definitely. That's when I call it agentic. But more than that, it has to set its own goals and subtasks,
yes.
and it has to adapt the decisions and actions based on something
Yes,
that changes.
very well
So,
said.
like you're
Very well
saying,
said.
it has to
So,
take money from your bank account. But if it finds out that the bank account does not have money, it should have the ability to check into your credit card and then say,
yes,
okay, maybe I will pay it by the credit card. And then
yes,
also having the capability to tell your bank account to put a direct debit on the credit card.
yes. So, yeah, being able to set its own goals, tasks, and
Hmm.
subtasks, and then achieve those goals, tasks, and subtasks uh, is the is what would allow me to call someone as agentic AI. Now, uh, there's this whole theory about principal agent. Like when you hire a lawyer, he's your agent, you're the principal. So there's a lot of academic literature on the principal agent, economics, the scenarios, the conflicts. So you, if all your, if the AI is not making small decisions on your behalf, then it's not your agent. Only when the AI starts to make small decisions on your behalf, starts to set its own goals and tasks and subtasks, then it becomes an agentic AI. So, so for example, if I ask a question, what is the weather like where I live? So one of the goals the AI might set is, okay, I have to find out where Vikas lives. First of all, and it says, okay, he lives in Palo Alto. So that's a goal, and that was a task, and it got an answer to that task, right? But I'll still not, even though it has a goal, task, and subtask, I'll still not call it agentic AI. Agentic AI is only when it is my agent. It's making decisions on my behalf. So, so in your example, if I told the AI that, okay, uh, order me food from DoorDash, and I feel like eating uh, Indian paneer makhni, right? Then if it decides which shop to order it from, which restaurant to order it from, reads the reviews and decides, then it's agentic AI. It made decisions on my behalf. It was my agent. But if it's not making decisions on my behalf, if it's coming back to me and telling me that look, these are the five shops. Which one do you want? I say, I want this shop. Then it says, do you want small, medium, or large? I say medium. Then it's not agentic AI. Then it's just doing what I am still in the loop. But when it starts to make decisions on my behalf, it becomes my agent. That's when it's agentic AI in my definition.
Vix, I'm just trying to think. But first, let me just say, because we've got the answer. I couldn't remember what was Gemini called before. They started off with Bard.
Yes.
And I still remember there was this big issues about overcorrection and over DEI and racial issues when they were doing images. But let's not go
Yes.
into that.
Yeah,
But thank you,
Saikat,
Saikat, for
is it? This is the
answering
third
this.
time that Saikat has joined our podcast live. So congratulations, Saikat. You are the pioneer when it comes to coming to the Amki Baad live podcast. We'd love to get to know you more. If it's possible for you to join us on the video stream, let us know and we can send you the link and maybe you can join us and introduce yourself and we can have a three-way conversation. But while we get to hear back from him, Miglani, what else is on your mind today?
I've got a lot of things on my mind, but let me just very quickly. I've got two more questions out here. Let's try to answer that as we go forward. So this is Saikat
Sure.
again. Mixer, when you invest in AI, do you invest in core research companies or companies building on top of AI models? It is the second, Saikat. Not because I don't want to, but that despite what DeepSeek has shown us, that still takes way more capital and it's a very different risk and return profile uh, for the style and stage of venture capital that I invest on. I love companies that are using existing LLMs and then making agents out of those. So, which is why agentic AI last 6 months, um, it has been top of my mind. I've been trying to study it enough and seeing what works. And there are things that don't work, but we don't know. Some of those are people are still trying. We won't know what doesn't work or what does work until we try out how those agents are working. We are still in the wild west era of AI right now, even generative AI. So it will take some time. So that was a longish answer. I've got one more question from Saikat, and then I will answer Isha's question. When an agent makes a decision on your behalf, how much of your personal data do you have to give up to that kind of intelligence? This is, I will give a short answer, but Vix, I want to hear from you. Uh, I think this is the crux of it. How much of your bank account, for instance, authorities, power of attorneys, do you give an agent uh, to be able to charge that money themselves? And the electronic analogy of that is you'll have to give that to whichever app or agent you have. However, the beauty of having all these agentic AI apps is that you can also control it. You can also, if they fulfill certain standards, it is all algorithmic rather than leaving it open. And this is me speaking right now. Famous last words because we are still in the developmental phase of agentic AI and data protection, identity protection is a big thing. It's a big thing in the internet. It has been there for the last 30 years, but with AI coming in, it is even huger than than it could have been before. Vix, what's your view on this agent?
Yeah, so second, the answer is you will be able to choose different agents and you'll be able to give different levels of data, private data access to different agents. For example, I might have an agent that helps me do my grocery shopping. Being in the US, like it's a big task. Like every 2 or 3 days, I have to go do grocery shopping, and that agent might only know my dietary habits, what kind of food I like, and will have access to my credit card. But there might be another agent who I might take medical advice from me, and even 10 years from now, that agent might be measuring the level of my insulin in my blood and deciding how much insulin I need to take through an injection. So that's a decision that that agent will make, and that agent will know everything about my medical history. But the agent that's doing my grocery maybe doesn't need to know about the insulin level in my blood. So different agents will have different levels of access, and humans will be able to control what kind of data which agent has.
And Vix, that is a lovely segue into the next question, Isha Daya. Isha, thank you so much for joining our channel. Um, Hey Mix, you say that you've been tracking AI since 2015. Yes, probably a bit earlier than that, but very seriously since 2015. Could you share other developments that are going to be a huge deal in the future but are not in mainstream currently? So, Isha, this is the perfect time for this question, mainly because we've hit upon agentic. Now, as an umbrella level, I see 2025 and possibly longer to be the start of the agentic era in AI. And the number of future forthcoming applications, which agent are you going to use AI to either replace or help? Or help, because help is like we are saying, I mean, someone using AI could help you better than only a human could. And it could be an agent. I mean, the first person that comes to my mind is a travel agent, right? So, like, yeah, Vix, you were saying, book me a ticket from London to San Francisco. That's a travel agent's job, and that can be done. But there, and now you said about a doctor, and this might go into a robotics. That could we have a contraption, a robotics contraption, which can even give you the right dose of your insulin shot, and you don't have to. So, in my opinion, the possibilities are limitless, and I say limitless is even my wildest dreams, I think, will be surpassed. And some of
Yes,
those will be surpassed in the next 1 or 2 years, and some of them will take a bit longer. And that is
yes.
exactly why Isha, that is why we started this channel. We are observing these things pretty closely from slightly different viewpoints for Vix and me, but very closely. And we thought, why don't we share what have we learned in the last 1 week?
Yeah,
So
Anisha, to answer
perfect
your
time to
question,
kick off.
uh, Isha, to answer your question, see, the world has been made for humans, right? So the world has been made for humans who measure somewhere between 5 feet and 6 feet. They have hands, they have eyes, and they move around on legs. That's how our tables are, and caps that open, the kitchen, and everything else has been designed for humans in mind. So what I expect is that by 2030, in another 5 years, we will have robots that look like humans in our homes. And I think that's going to be a huge deal, which is not mainstream currently, because I will not have a robotic contraption giving me insulin. It would be another robot that looks like a human, can walk around to my kitchen cabinet where I keep my medicine, open a bottle with his hands, take the medicine out, walk back to me and give me that medicine. So uh, I think we'll have, because the world has been made for humans, everything around us is at that height. It opens with how the humans open them, and so on. So I think by 2030, that's what we'll start to see.
Which which brings us to the topic of the day. Even though we will not spend the full 30 minutes, this is our first episode, so we wanted to give a bit of a background. And we'll keep going if it is relevant in every episode. But what are the top 2 or 3 new developments in AI that you heard of in the last 1 week or two?
Sure. So let's talk about two developments. One, which I just heard of in the last 10 days or so, which is what happens if there's an AI running on my computer that has access to my computer. It can open my computer's browser. It can open type gmail.com. It can log into my Gmail. It can read my emails. It can reply to those emails. Or it can open amazon.com and it can look at my ordering history and it can decide to buy something. What happens if we have a software that's running on my computer which is using this neural network and now has intelligence to open websites, to create goals and tasks and subtasks, and have agency? For example, I say reply to my emails, and it's not going to come back and ask me what do you want me to reply. If Meglani says something, it will be able to reply to that email. So we now have a software that can do that, and the software, though we saw examples of softwares doing it last year, 6 months, a year ago, but now this is a software that's doing it very well. It's doing it so well that uh,
Which one
it's
is it, Vix?
so Some of the examples that we saw last year was OpenAI launched a product called Operator. What Operator did was, if I told Operator, uh, find me the best chiropractor near me, right? So it will actually show me the screen where it will open Google, it will search for chiropractors near me, it will see 5 chiropractors, it will open all 5 of them, read the reviews, and then come back and tell me, okay, I did this research, I looked at these 5 chiropractors, I read the reviews, and this one is the best, right? So, and we could visually see it opening the browser, we could visually see it searching in Google, and so on. So Operator launched last year. Then Anthropic Claude that you were just mentioning, they demoed something similar right after that last year. And now there's this theory that we have, right? That China does it faster, better, and cheaper. Faster and cheaper, not better, because I think the core R&D is still happening in Silicon Valley or America, but China does it faster and better. Or cheaper. So China has now launched something that does what Operator does, but faster and better. So that's called Manus, Manus, Manus or Manus. And what that does is that it can literally open up a computer and just like today morning I woke up and I have to go through my emails, and it can go through the emails, and it can go through my calendar, and it's doing it just like a human would. It's not depending on application programming interface. It's not depending on APIs. It is doing it just like a human would open up a computer. It is doing it just as a human would open up a browser, go to Gmail, or go to Amazon, or go to Google Calendar, or it was already being done in the US last year, but China has come up with something that's faster, cheaper, and better, I think.
I love it. In fact, I'll tell you what I loved. The first time I heard Manus, it was just around the time I was reading it on my phone and I was browsing my movie apps on the TV. And I heard about Manus. This was, I think, about exactly a week ago. It was Wednesday or Thursday last week. And right in front of me in the suggested movies was this Randhir Kapoor movie from the 60s called Bhala Manus. I was like, boss, this the Bhala Manus, ye kya hai? I mean, are they trying to put this movie in AI? And I've probably not seen it. Maybe I did see it back in the 90s or 80s in the Doordarshan days. But I'll tell you the other thing, jokes apart. I mean, the name is so good because, like we
Yes.
were discussing about agents, like we were discussing about Manus, means it's the Latin word for hand. So it's your hand, it's your assistant, it's what your hand can do while your hand rests. So that is one. But Vix, just going back, you were saying we've had all these. I think today we've got hardware which is preloaded with AI software. So I know Microsoft is doing it with Surface. I know Apple is preloading everything now in their iPads and on their iPhones. Google is doing it with their smartphones. Lenovo is doing it on their tablet. So is that the way to go? One thing which I don't know the answer to is it a hardware play now with a software loaded, or is it a software play with hardware just being the carrier?
So I think it would help to understand that these large language models they usually come in different sizes, and for human mind, small, medium, and large are the sizes that are easy to understand. And I think that's how it would evolve. And I think the small size will run locally on your phone, but it will not have a lot of intelligence. I think it would have like today a small language model running on your phone will have say intelligence of 70 IQ. The world on an average has an average IQ of around 98 or something. So it would be lower IQ than the average IQ in the world. Now there'll be a medium language model that can run on your computer. It doesn't run on a data center and on servers, and that today has an IQ of around 80, 85 or so. So still less than that of an average human. And then you have the large language model, which requires data centers and servers. It cannot run on a single computer. It needs thousands of computers to run on. And that today I think has crossed a single human's IQ. So I think that's how we'll see the world evolving. And the iPhone is only around 15 years old. So just imagine 15 years from now, the iPhone will be so much better, right? And when it's so much better, maybe we'll be able to. So we'll still call it small, medium, and large, and the language model running in the data center might be 20 points above the IQ of the language model running on your phone. But even your phone IQ, the language model running on your phone might have an IQ which is higher than your own IQ. So I expect that today the language model that I run on my phone has a lower IQ than me, but maybe 5 years from now it would have a higher IQ than me. And just the way that the screwdriver, 20 years ago I started using electric screwdriver that could do the screw driving better than my hands could. And now I have something on my phone that can do better thinking than my brains could. But that doesn't make me less of a human. I still stay a human, and I still am the principal. Just because I have a travel agent who can book better travel tickets than me, I have a attorney agent who can do better law than me. I still get to be the principal. I still get to make the final decisions.
So, Vix, there is one thing which you've briefly touched upon, and one which you've strongly touched upon earlier in the episode, and that is what are the privacy concerns. But then the brief thing is to governments have to take action. So, governments are making regulations to either control AI or make sure they can switch it off or on in case something goes out of whack. And to me, one of the most recent, it was just earlier this week, has been the EU regulations that have come in. So I'm still reading through it, what it has, but the headline case, and this is my headline for this week, is I think the industry is up in arms. And my first view is that this will finish off the AI industry in Europe. I already saw it coming last year from what they had published as a draft. But I'll give you my one line summary why I think so. It's because they are passing on the entire risk of a false, let's call an agent, if an agent does something wrong. Uh, they are passing on the entire risk to the company whose agent you have deployed. When the when the main reason that the AI could have taken that action is because it was wrong in the LLM itself. I mean, the LLM, which those agents are feeding on, has miscoded it. So let's take the Gemini or the what was it? I forget again. Saikat, you'll have to help me again. What
Bard.
was it? Bard. So when Gemini or Bard came out, when you said, show me a picture of a white CEO," it was still showing a black guy in a suit. It was as extreme as that. Now, if an agent were to take an action based on that and take you to, if you said, I want to uh, have a haircut with a white hairdresser, it took you to a black hairdresser. Not that, I'm just giving a random example. Is it the companies whose agent you're using? Is it their fault? And the EU regulations are number one, passing all mandatory third party risk to these companies. Which to me, if I'm developing, if I were a startup founder, I'd say, you know what, I am going off. I will go to the US, I'll go to India, I'll go to some other country which is not under EU regulations. I will launch my startup there. That's point number one. Point number two, from the same thing, who is going to monitor it? I mean, in EU, we know people are getting old. In Europe, we know there aren't enough hands and feet to actually work. We know half the people are either at war or in politics. Who is going to actually check which company is doing all this? You need hands and legs to do it, or will you ask AI, and will that AI also give possible wrong results? That's the big question, and that has been bothering me for the last 2 days. I'm still going through that report, but maybe next week I'll have a better update on what's happening. I have to tell, if there are any viewers who are connected to the EU, I can just tell you that I know that by the end of this month we can still put in our feedback. So I'm working on it over the next week or two to put in my feedback, because as an industry, I consider myself an insider in a way. Even though I'm not a startup founder, I'm more of an investor. But what are the problems with that draft regulation of the EU. If you are connected, please look into their website and give your feedback.
Sure. Miglani, as we come to the end of the episode, because we plan to keep it around 30 minutes or so, uh, I think it was a great episode. I think you covered the history and the arc, and in my opinion, that's the most important thing. If you want to know where the ball is going, it's important to see where it has been. Um, and uh, and I think over the last 5 years, our lives will change fundamentally because now we have just the way nobody uses a manual screwdriver anymore. Everybody uses electric screwdriver. I think 5 years from now, that's what will happen in our brain. Nobody will just use the biological brain anymore. Everybody will use a computer brain.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And on that note, with this last comment from Saikat, we'll sign off. So thank you, Saikat, for joining in our podcast since episode 2 of the pod last year. And hope to see you more often. Thank you, Isha. Thank you, everyone who has joined and not put in a comment. Next time, we'll try to answer more comments. And we will also, now that we've very briefly covered the history, next time we will say which way our finger is on the ball rolling, like Vix you said. So
Yes,
thank you again for
yes,
joining and have a great week. And we'll see you again this time next Wednesday.
yes.
However,
And we will
on
try to
Friday
set
we
up
do
some.
our
Yes,
general current affairs podcast also at this time. So feel free to join that general current affairs podcast, which we will keep AI out of it
yes. And
because
we will
but
try and
AI
do something
runs our lives.
where we can let the viewers join in and ask questions, just like viewers call in into a radio show or something like that. I think there's a way to set up that technology where your guests can actually come in and everybody can see their face and they can ask a question. We'll try to do something similar.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you either on Friday or next week.
Okay, thank you everyone. Very good talking to you.